Good evening and welcome once again to the shop here in Canterbury, New Hampshire. Tonight I've got a little special treat. We're going to do some sculptural woodworking, and we're going to tonight make that little end piece that I showed you last time. So we're going to go through the process. I had quite a few questions. I showed this serving tray last time that had an end on it like this, and quite a few people said, how'd you make that handle? And so tonight I'm going to show you. And this is kind of a nice exercise because it takes you out of bounds. And I just want to take you through the process of how I figured out how to make this and actually made it. It was actually derived from this serving tray, which I mentioned last time. We actually did a Shop Night Live on this serving tray about a year ago, right?
About a year ago, Christmas-ish time, I think, yeah. And
it was fun. I mean, it's a nice course. The complexity of it was in the dovetailing on the corner. But when it came to the handles, I just had a very simple template, which I used a router to route out, and even a little round over bit to give us that shape on the top and in here on the handle. So in some ways, it has kind of a manufactured appearance other than the hand-cut dovetails. But these, you know, doesn't it? It kind of looks uniform, like a manufactured thing. So what I wanted to do was, I had an order. Sorry if this is redundant from last time, but from a nice client. And they wanted one that wasn't as thick as this, and they didn't even mention the handles really, but I just felt like I wanted to do something different. And I'll show you why it came about to this. So I'm going to set this aside. What I decided was to make it look thinner, to actually cut a bevel on the interior. I would show you the real serving tray, but they came and picked it up this past Saturday. So that's it.
Well, you showed it in last week's.
Yeah.
So you can go back to episode 119.
If you're really itching and you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
So
the link is in the description.
This side piece started out as 7/16 thick, just like that one. But then I tapered it on the inside surface, so it's only 5/16 on the top. Just a nice lighter look. But it had enough meat on the bottom to accept the panel, which serves as the bottom of the serving tray. So I like that I had a little more down here. That 7/16 makes a difference. And anyway, this is 1 5/8 high. So that was what I was thinking. Oh, great, I'll do that. But then when it came to the end, now the end section is taller. It's about 2 1/4, you know, to rise up to hold the handles. So as you carry that angle up, now you're getting deeper into that 2 1/4. So it almost forced me to have more out here at the top of the handle. Now, let me show you what I'm talking about over here. This is a scale drawing of what I just talked about. So here's the side, and this would be 7/16, and the height is, what did I just say? 1 5/8. And then coming over, I made a light pencil mark here. This is 5/16 right here to this dot from this side. Now this is the inside. I already drew, this is actually the notch. It looks huge right here, but it's only 3/16 square, pretty much, okay? But I made it as high or as wide as my panel ended up being for the base. So it would just slide in there nicely. I wouldn't fight it, but I didn't want it to slop in there as well. So it fit in there just right. By the way, I thought of doing a little class on this, but this is your class. So look, this is like a free class. If you want to make this serving tray, you're going to see everything you need tonight. What a bonus. All right, so now I wanted to cut that bevel that I just showed you. So I'm gonna just draw that line from the 5/16, and I actually didn't come right down to the 3/16 because it didn't matter. I came up about 3/16 from that, and then I would sand that slight facet, and you'd never really notice. That way I had, a good full sandwich around that 3/16. I thought this was going to be easier to do on the board. Whoops. But it's not. Okay, there we go. Okay, so this gets sawn off, and we're left with, this is the profile of our sides. So let me just show you that. This is the actual thing. You're looking at it, the same thing. So there you are. We've got our base, and this one's obviously mitered already. So now, if I do the same thing on my other piece, this is 2¼ high. I decided my end piece had to be, so there we are, 2¼ here. I need to have the slope of this angle the same on the inside as this piece, so that when the corners come together in a miter, that's going to be equal, and it'll just mesh in there nicely. So essentially I drew this in a light pencil right over here, and I'm just gonna carry that line up. That is the same height. So I'm just drawing this equal to the line I just made on the other one. Uh-oh. That's the problem with some pens in this shop. They always seem to get a little dust in the... All right, there you go. So now this is actually the height of the other, but see how far this pushed back now? If I had only a narrower piece, I'd be quite skinny up top here, and it wouldn't really work. So what I had to do was start out with, as you can see, a wider piece of material, a thicker piece. Okay, so I was drawing kind of the shape I was thinking of. I wanted to come up and start bending back and also have a curve back and a nice little handle like that. Now, this little sketch down here is actually to scale on 3/4. And what happens is this line right here represents the side, the long side I just showed you. But the end section, so the end section is going to start bending right about there, or even it has to be equal in the corner, so it has to be cut the same to a certain degree. And then I have this curving out, and this circle represents a 7/16 diameter handle, okay, roughly. So here's what we have to do is we're going to saw out this and then kind of sculpt this shape into what we remove with the table saw. Okay, we're going to remove some material because we're 3/4 here, and we've got to get to this. So we want to end up with it being the same thickness, 7/16, with that slot. So we're going to have to cut this, but not too high, so we can start to curve out for the rollover of the handle. Let me draw this in now so I can show you the series of cuts we're going to make. We're gonna make that long cut.
John's asking, is it stronger to go going with the grain for the length?
I'm not sure what you mean, but if you mean the grain of the side going long, yes. Yeah, you want it all tracking the long way. And so this is the actual thickness. See, that's the same here. But we're going to make a saw cut, actually on the table saw, about 1¼ inch high, so that this will get taken out. That's our saw cut, okay? So we're coming up to this point here. Now we've got the same thickness as our corner. So we know in the corners it'll match. But now we're thinking about the curvature that's going to happen toward the middle, where the handle ascends and rolls back. Okay, so that's up here. So if I come up here and I draw kind of the circle of the handle. I've got a light pencil mark in here, but I'm going to do it in pen. And it's going to be rolling over about 7/16, and that's what I've got right here. Okay, so something like that. And then this, from this point up, we're going to start bending back. This is the back side of it. So it's going to come up a little bit, but then it's going to start laying back pretty quickly, and we'll just scoop it right back like that. So we have a nice kind of curve out to the round handle. This is all the end view. And then on this side, we have to be this profile right here, basically at the corner, but then we can shape it toward the middle. So I'm going to actually shape it back a little bit here. Toward the middle, I'll start shaping it like this, but we'll leave it full at the corner. And then here we're going to come on down like that. Gosh, I wish this was writing smoother. I could do this much easier on the table, but this is a little easier to see it. Okay, so something like that, okay? We've got our handles going up, back, and over. So there you go. Now, to make this, we'll make our long taper cut like this to taper it back. But before we make that, we have to cut the slot, okay? I've already done that, so we don't waste time on that. I'm mainly talking about the shape. This is super easy. Just raise the blade, 3/16 of an inch. This is a little, about 1/8 of an inch, maybe a touch more wide at the bottom, and that's below the tray. And so up here, we're going to cut that long taper, but then we're going to still have all this meat here, so we'll make a secondary cut right about here. Now we want to make this so that we don't cut the corner cut too deeply for the corner. So it'll be something like this. So we'll take that off too. So now we're kind of roughing out the bend back of the handle in the middle. And then on the back here, it would help us to define the roll of the handle if we have a little cut. So we'll make a table saw cut. We'll come down 7/16, and we'll make a little relief in cut here. So this is an 1/8 inch wide, like the carbide tip blade. And we'll make it about 3/16 deep. I think that's what I got. This is all to scale, like an 1/8 inch. 1 inch is an 1/8 inch, so. Okay, so I'm just a little, not quite 3/16, but I probably could to make that shape anyway. So these are the series of cuts. We'll cut this, this, this. And then we're going to make a series of just relief cuts where we'll go a little deeper here until we get down here. So all this is going to get taken away, but we're going to leave a little bridge of wood here so that it doesn't fall apart. And then I'm going to snap that off, and we will clean this surface up, shape the round, and then shape the roll back in the middle. I just want to start out, and I've got a sample piece here of the walnut. Now, I discovered that it's much easier if you cut the handhold while everything is still square, right? And you'll get an even cleaner job if you can set up a template to route it out. So what I did was I used this MDF template, see that nice little handhold? And rather than being round on the end, which looks so factory, right? I decided to make a clean, sharper inside corner there so the handle is there and it doesn't look so machine made. So that's going to be the shape, and I tacked this on the outside. Okay, so here's the inside with the groove. So this is the outside, and I tacked it on with nails that only go about 3/16 deep, little brads, and that's going to get cut away. If you remember, we're going to cut the outside away. So there you go. Now I just have to square up those little corners in there. Maybe I should do that right now. Let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to set it in the vise. While everything's still square, I think it'll be a little bit easier. Is this curved enough? Yeah, that's good. I'll need a straight chisel, and I've got one with a little round to it. I'll get around to it. Okay, and see, I'm just taking this carving chisel that has a little sweep, and I'm using it to follow the curve. Sorry, I got a block here. And I can see right in there, and just clean that down on both sides. Now I can use the straight one to come across and complete the handle. Let's get this more this way. That's good. Come down here. I'm just going to use the sidewall already established as a guide and just turn the chisel down. Okay, I'm just going about halfway. I'll flip it over. And we'll finish it in here. Now this is the actual area that's going to be there. The outside gets sawn away. This area. And I can clean that up with
Can you talk a little bit about the chisels you're using?
I'm just using my flat bench chisel here. These are the Veritas. I have these Veritas PMV11s, if you're wondering, but they're pretty nice. They sent them to me, so I didn't complain. But I would, if I could afford them, I'd buy them. They're pretty pricey, but they're amazing. They really are great chisels. But there's lots of other great chisels that you don't have to buy these if you're not in the market for them. Okay, so there you go. That's enough. The rest I can just kind of bring up here, and I can actually come in and I can see it better here. I'm just paring the inside. Can you see it? Mm-hmm. Sorry.
We work around you. You don't work around us.
I want you to get the shot. You want to get that Emmy, don't you? Okay, there we go.
I'm sure that's going to happen.
And in the category of all-purpose, do-it-all camera lady, the winner is the camera lady. What a surprise. All right, here we go. Just gonna finish that up. Okay, so that's pretty good. It's gonna get filed and cleaned up later, but now we've got that look that we wanted. So we've got a, yeah, it's a happy handle. Now we've got this set up. So let's go, we'll first make our angle cut to establish the match with our side. It's that long sloping angle we talked about, okay? Let's head over to the table saw and we'll make that cut. So I'm gonna make this, and I want the blade to exit a little higher than, or lower from, it's upside down, than that. So I tilted the blade over, so I'm gonna just exit the same height off the groove as I did on the other piece. on the side pieces. All right, here we go. Oh, and I'm going to use this new push stick. This sounds like a commercial, but nobody sponsors me. Occasionally people send me stuff, and I tell them, if I like it, I'll say something, but if I don't like it, I'm not saying anything. But I got to say something about this because I do like this. It's the Hedgehog. These guys make feather boards. You've seen me use that before. But this is a push stick, and it's got like rubber here. And what I like about it most is how secure your hand feels up away from the workpiece when you're pushing. Like your thumb is here and the handle is offset over the fence. So I put my baby finger like behind the fence, and I can hold my thumb down, and it feels really secure for these thinner cuts. You can always make your own like this. And this is what I've used for a long time. So I got nothing against these. I just thought I'd mention this because I have been using it and I like it a lot. Here we go. All right, so let's go back over here for a second. I'm just going to make a mark at 1 5/8 to depict the height of the side of the corner. Where the corner meets is going to be right here. Okay, so we're going to have that corner intersection. It's going to be something like this. So we're 5/16 there, and that's our height. Now, for us, we're going to instead have this now go back and roll over. So we're going to make a saw cut that comes up not all that way. We actually want it only to come up about there. Let me see. I want it to be like 1.25 inches. Yeah, that's good. So this is going to be the saw cut we'll make to relieve the back and get us to the thickness of the sides. But we're gonna, now I wanna just draw on here. If we come up, sorry, one more thing I gotta draw. I gotta mark the 7/16 down. And I could go over the other way. Okay, these are just guidelines, so this will be my saw cut I relieve in here, and the circle is going to be right here for the handle, something like that.
Michael's curious if this would be a good time to cut your end miters.
Oh, Michael, good comment. Actually, I meant to mention that. I cut the end miters first. I actually cut them first while this was still flat because I'm going to do that face down. And those were already done before I did the groove in this. So yeah, I just decided to keep this one flat, not worry about the miters so I could show you better like this thing I'm doing right now. But yeah, that was great. Thanks for reminding me. So this is going to come down about like this. So, you know, if you wanted to do this and exaggerate it more, you just draw out the height and the rollback that you want, and you'd have to accommodate the thickness of your material because you're going to be sawing whatever it is away underneath the roll. So this is not a huge rollback, but it felt good from what I drew on my curly maple notepad. And then we're going to come up here and meet like that. So this is going to be the saw cut up to 1 1/4, and then this is going to be our little relief cut back here. And but first we're going to make that sloping cut to take some of this away, because we don't want to have to do all that by hand or some other method. So this is going to get taken away with our next cut. And that's going to slope down right to about that point, just like we did up there. Okay, here we go. All right, I'm going to slope the blade. That looks pretty good. I'm going to see how that is. I'll just start into the cut because this is going to get sawn away anyway. So let's go ahead and just start it. Here we go. Okay, now we're going to straighten up the saw blade, and we're going to make that 1 1/4 saw cut to thin this up in the back, the lower back. So we're just going to go up 1 1/4 so we leave that handle rolling back. I want to cut that off, and there we are, right about there is good. And it's basically, we're taking 5/16 off the back because this started out as 3/4 of an inch. So we'll take 5/16. So if I set my saw at 3/16, then I get the saw curve. That should be just about right. And there'll be some table saw marks on that, but that's cleaned up with hand tools easily later. Let's just make a little test cut. Now normally I would have a test piece of material here, just to be sure. And but that looks pretty good. Let's just see. Let's turn on the dust collector for this one. So you can see what we've done so far. We've cut our facet, we've got our inside slope, and now we've got our relief cut up the back. So now we want to make this little saw cut underneath the round handle. So that's going to be 7/16 down and just a little over 1/8 of an inch or so high. So let's move our fence to 7/16. And drop our blade down. That looks pretty good. I'll do a little test and we'll see. And then after this cut, I'm just going to move the fence like 1/8 of an inch this way, raise the blade a little, and see how it looks in relation to the curved line I've got. Actually, I should have it drawn on the other side. I'm going to make this cut and then it'll be easy to draw. Here we go. So we're going to, this is our curve that we're going to come back to this point. This is where we have our round handle here, okay? There we go, okay? So what I'm going to do is move my fence just 1/8 of an inch. We'll raise it slightly so that we come closer to the line. And I'm going to make these cuts. Here we go. That's too deep. Okay. So you can see now we've got our saw cut up the back, and we did our little relief cuts to track the shape there a little bit, and then you can just break this off. So now we're seeing we're getting closer, and we've got to shape this roll back. And for that, we'll do it with a few hand tools. And the first thing I'm going to do is just shape here in the back to get that kind of curvature while it's still longer. I'll get that, and then we can cut our shape, and then we'll work on our handle. We're going to move right along on this though. It's not going to be perfect, but you'll get the whole sense. So I'm going to set it in the vise, and we're going to carve this back out. We've got to try to create that bit of a curvature on the back.
How do you keep track of all the cuts, all these cuts with the mitered ends on the part?
Oh, great question. Yeah, that's why I didn't cut the mitered ends so you could see it. I actually had a scrap piece the same dimension that was always going first. So I've actually got that piece right here. So this was a shorter piece, it had a knot in it, and I just decided this was going to be my scrap piece to cut all my others. So it really is worth it to have that so you can check your cuts. Because I knew once I did the miters, that was a great thought, because that's hard to think about when you're not seeing the miters, but that's exactly what I had to do. So now I just want to clean this up on the back. So I'm going to use an old carving chisel. I've got my 520 here. And I was just seeing how the grain felt. This is pretty easy carving because you're just cleaning this up. Now I'm still outside of the part that's kept, so this is going to sweep down. So I really need to be good right in here and here. So I don't have to worry. I can check how the grain's going. Like this is a weird, the grain's diving right there, but I don't think it is right here. Get my flatter one here. I'm going to come the other way. Yeah, that's nasty right there. That goes both ways. There's a little swirl. But you're just basically connecting and smoothing out those spots there. Wow, that's a nasty little swirl because it wants to tear almost in both directions. But no big deal.
What are the chances, huh?
I did this on purpose. I could see that was going to happen. I want everybody to see that. Okay, so it doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm feeling that ridge. I want to just clean that away and get it kind of close so I can feel it curving. Still a little faceted. Just right there. Get rid of that right there. Okay, that one feels scooped. Now this side, same thing. I don't have to do this way back here. Just mainly in this area. Go with the grain. Just blend these together here. Can always come back and refine it after, but I want to get the basically clean this up now. It's easier to do before you have that sweeping curve cut in it. You can still see those little saw lines. Okay, so once I get it close like this, you can actually scrape it. Now, I first reached for my French curve scraper, like this one. And I thought maybe I'll get it in there, but you could sort of get it, but it's too strong of a curve and you really can't get it there. But then I remembered I had this one that's got just a soft curve on one end and a stronger one here. I don't use this one very often. Clifton, Sheffield, England. But so I sharpened this edge up and I could turn it and lay it right in there. That corner goes right in there. So you can actually get a nice scraped curvature here. That'll make it a lot easier to clean up. Just a little sandpaper. That does the trick. You gotta love when you find the right tool. All right, sit right here. Okay, that looks nice. Pretty darn close to where we want to be. And now I'm just gonna hit it. You'll see that it sands nice and quickly with 150 to be that sweep we want right here. But we're gonna mess around with it a little bit more, but let's get that shapes on. So now we've got our curve scooped. Let's draw our handle shape. So here's our sweeping curve. We're going to lay it on there. I'm just going to get this close to the middle here. Just going to center this. Okay, here's my center line. And put that on there. And I'm actually going to slide it just a little bit because I want to do something a little different on this. So now this line will match right up to our cut. So if we're doing this on the inside, we'd have our bevel there, and this would be actually, this is 16 inches long, and the bevel would be meeting. So again here. I'm just gonna, there you go. So now we're gonna saw this out, and to do that I'm gonna use a little riser block here. Here we go, we're gonna head over to the bandsaw, turn on our dust collector. I'm just going to clean these. Let's get this in shape pretty quickly here. We're not going to get this one totally finished. I'll show you the other one in a second. The finished one. Yeah, I will talk about the carving chisels soon, Dean. Makes the most sense when I'm using them for our actual project. Okay, so now faceting this is going to be the top or the apex of the curve right here. And then on the back, so you see me do this before, we're going to mark the center line to create the round. So we're going to facet this. You could just come about to here. We'll take that off. And we'll take this off the inside. So we're going to end up with like an octagonal shape, and then we just break the edges and we end up with a nice round. So here, let's see. I'm going to push this back a little bit more. So intense. I broke the line. I got to relax.
You can know the difference between those lines.
I've got a middle line and then I got one on each side. So I don't want to, I just want to go to the sidelines for now. The sidelines. So I'll do one right there. All right, let's knock this out. I got my, I'll get my block plane that's set pretty heavy. Here it is. So we're just going to that first guideline. That looks pretty good. And now the back. Nice. While we're here, let's start to round it a little. We've still got that other side. So I'll take the finer one. Now I'm hitting that on top of that facet. You can sort of move it a little bit till you get right about to that apex line. So already I can feel a pretty good representation of a round. Now we're going to take this ridge down a little bit in the front, because I want that to feel like it's rolling back a little bit, which you can see. And we've still got that facet right there. So let me see if I can, a little cutoff piece under there like that. And let's just get a quick grip on there. Okay, now we want that to roll back a little. So I could try getting the block plane in there. And it's working actually. It's skewed. Now I don't care if it rolls back here, as long as I don't touch the corner. That's the right height and angle. Everything's good there. Whoops, there's that gnarly grain again. So if I can't get the square in there, I'll just use a spoke shave. Let me sit down. And we're just shaping this up. You want to feel that thing roll back. You're taking away the flats, kind of, and then the same over here. So you can actually, you could take a file and put it on there as well. And that grain's switching. That would, when you get to real problematic grain, sometimes you're better off just filing. This is nicely shaped. I'm just going to clean it up a little bit. There, that has the feel of a rollback. And now I get the card scraper. This one feels good. I'll do it so you can see. Oh, that's nice. So that'll clean up very quickly with sandpaper. And then we just have to deal with the back here. So let's lay it like this. And again, just quick grip it. So on the top here, we're going to facet down to that first line there. That feels good. And now we can just come over. Now we got to get this last bit that rolls under. And I can maybe get my block plane in there. Let's see. There we go. So I'm just getting that in there, but it's not really cutting great. So this is a place where a little shoulder plane can get in there better because the blade goes right out to the edge, and I've got a wide enough cut here. You know, you could also make this a little faster with carving chisels. You got to know you're going the right way though, as far as the grain goes. Oh, I love when they curl off like that. This may be one of those where you're better off doing the whole thing with a carving chisel. And then you can go underneath, get that round. Oh, I love the sound of that too. That's nice. So I'm trying to get this to roll so you've got the nice round handle, and you really finish this with light rasping or filing to create the beautiful roundedness to it. Now I'm taking off that last facet. We're going right up to the line. That feels nice. So there you have that, and then I would use my files there, but the last quick thing I want to show you is handling the end here. So we want to create a little bit of a rollover and a bead there. So I'm going to come down about my 7/16, make a little pencil mark right about there. Okay. Now I'm going to just come in. I'm just going to get this to start rounding in. I'm going to just tap it on this to describe that round under here. Okay. So we're curling under here. That looks nice. And now, so we got a little short grain under there. We got to take this under here. I can do that better when I get it out of the vise, but I want to finish up. So we're going to just make this is kind of a stop cut of sorts. So we're going to go drive this down in. What we want to do is try to get this bead or this circle to look like it's raised a bit. So we're going to do that with a relief cut underneath like this. Now we can come in from this side and take it under like that. Okay, so we're going to start taking this material. I'm holding it really short so I could use it like almost like a knife, but I'm scooping this material. So in the back, it gets flatter, and you're doing that so that you raise that. It appears to raise. So it's just a relief cut. That's nice. And I'll finish that with a little filing, but that's pretty good. Now I'm going to get the, trying to remember, I think I'll use my flatter chisel here. I'm going to just create a little roundedness to the end of this because it's just off the bandsaw. Now in bandsawing this, I could have left this a little heavier if I wanted a more vertical handle, but I kind of like the way it's laying down. On another one I did a kind of a sweep, but this is a cross end grain basically, so I'm using kind of a sweeping cut here. And get you a nice clear look to the grain. And this will give it a soft radius too, because this is a number 3 sweep on a 12. So the 3 describes the strength of the sweep or the curvature. So that's almost a flat, but there's a curve to it. The number 3 on a 12 millimeter just means that the chisel is 12 millimeters wide. All right, so I could do more here, clean this up a little more. We can take it out. Let's take a look at it. And now look on the back here. See, we've still got that heavy here. So you can clean that up. Again, I think the quick grip is easiest. I'll just hit this one end so you can see it. All right, so I just want you to clean that down. So I'm just going to use spoke shave to blend this into this plane. So it's just going to blend this to be like it's always been that thin. So you'll wonder, how did that handle raise up out of that flat back? You know? It's this subtle little detail that turns it into just a higher style, you know? There's so many things in 18th century furniture that do things like this, you know? You have to go like an extra mile to get the result. And so often what they ended up doing with manufacturing processes was, if they saw a detail that was too complex, you know, it was really made to be executed by hand, they would simplify it or dumb it down sort of for the machinery process. You know, after we got to the Industrial Revolution, things just got more machine friendly, and you lost the spirit of the craftsman making those sweet details, you know, that really show that somebody was there and somebody cared enough to go that extra mile. So now, look at that, it's right in plane. And then I would finish cleaning that up. You can still see a little facet under there, but I'm not gonna deal with it right now. And then the last thing to do is you've gotta clean this up with a little bit of filing. You get it as good as you can with the chisels, but I'm not gonna make this perfect. I just wanna show you the approach. This is how the bench ends up. It's always like this. So you'll clean that up. You could blend, just hit this kind of round here. I would carve that a little cleaner before doing this, but in the interest of time. And then on the handle, I want to make sure that I've rounded that. So the one thing I didn't get was this sharp front edge. So this also has to be marked. Now I know I was fastening about that much to get the roundedness, and the same here. So you got to just round that last little spot. Need a little straight cut right here and over here. This is kind of a stop cut, but that's that facet stopping the grain there. And then we're gonna see how the grain's reacting here. It's going the wrong way. Feels switching right there a little bit, so if I have a stronger sweep, now I've got the 5, so that's got a little stronger curvature, so that helps to establish this curve of this handle a little bit more, and you can just keep using it almost like a regular flat chisel, but because of the sweep, it's leaving a roundedness to it. Man, this grain is gnarly right here. Doesn't want to cooperate. Wow, that's something else. All right, so if it's really, this is unusual for it to be this kind of problematic, but That's enough where you can get it in the vise, and rasping will get you home. I'll just do it this way. Actually, you can see it better this way too. Okay. So now we'll use this rasp to bring this into the round. It's kind of tricky because you're working in that little hand grip. You can see why a serving tray made with a detail like this instead of that routed out handle is going to cost a lot more, because all your precious time and the value. Okay, that feels a little better, but it's still got a little ways to go to get the rounded. So now I'll start blending those facets, just like with the block plane or the carving chisels. And I just do this and test until you feel the sweet roundedness, so you know that's right where the hand is going to interact most, and you want that to feel great. Now I also would slightly radius that bottom flat surface and over on the ends too. So let me show you one that is finished out, but that's basically the approach and the principle to create that rolled back handle effect. All right, so I want to bring this home and show you the sculpted finished one right here on the end, so you can see that. Now you might be saying, hey, that's pretty cool setup to glue it up, and it is. And I give special thanks to Bruce. I had a little back and forth with Bruce, and he mentioned this strap clamp, which I had, but it never occurred to me that these would be great for clamping up the corners. Now this is dry fit, there's no glue in there, but he was so right. I mean, the way these pads are and they angle, they just pinch and force the pressure right across the miter. It's a great solution for this, clamping up this piece. Now when you get the bottom in there, it's even easier. Now, on the last episode, we talked about splines, and I showed you how to put a little spline in a corner. I ended up doing that on my previous one with a domino. But look at the difference here in the sculpting. If we, here's the one that we just roughed out. So we're not far away, but you can see what the last filing and sanding does. And a little refinement, but that's that undercut. Let's turn it so you can see under the handle. Look how nicely rolled under that is. And it's a nice sweet round, and it feels like it's almost been put on top, but it actually is integral, you know, to that whole hand, and it has a sweet effect. And I'm telling you, that little bit of a round over changes the whole dynamic of the serving tray. If we go back to our mass-produced one, we go from this, you can see that looks machine friendly, right? To a more elegant but time consuming and hand tool worked. But man, when you feel that, you can feel that it's not machined. It just has a whole personality to it. All right, everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with us again. If you like this channel, please go ahead and subscribe and share and like and all that fun stuff and comment. We look forward to seeing you again next week. Good night, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Great to be with you.